Bam! What up, Yang Gang? We're back for another article. Today we're going to be talking about the UBI pilot being funded in LA's South LA district. I can't remember which one it is, but there is an article from LA Times talking about 500 single-parent families getting $1,000 a month for 1 year. And this is in response to defunding the police. We're going to take some money from the police budget and take it and help people. So I'm going to go ahead and show you guys the article real quick and a couple of highlights. And the links will be in the description box for this article. So it's devoting $88 million to youth and rec programs, neighborhood beautification initiatives, job and business programs, nonprofit services, and more. But here's the best part is the mayor tried to veto it. But then he got overridden, which is, democracy, baby. But yeah, it talks about this additional $18 million will be allocated for homeless prevention and homeless services, including eviction defensive services, jobs, and outreach to workers. And then $32 million reflects the spending priorities of 6 council districts. But it doesn't list the damn districts in here, specific ones. But yeah, so in the article, I got to scroll down to show you guys where it actually lists the details of it. Here it is. So in the initial plan, total of 500 households, single parents, in Price's district, it doesn't say what district that is, receive $1,000 a month for 12 months. And then an additional $7.75 million would go to fund dedicated to paying for an unarmed response to homelessness and nonviolent calls, according to budget officials. So I think this is huge. First, democracy is working. One person can't take control of the entire district. There's a push. There's the checks and balances, but I think it's pretty cool. And it's happening in LA with a huge homeless community. And Tom, you live in San Francisco, so you guys have some of that in your own area as well, right? Or you live outside of San Francisco, right?
I live south of San Francisco in the suburbs, so we luckily have not seen as much of a homeless issue here, but definitely in the city, it's like another world. You drive like 30 minutes north of me, and it's like two Northern Californias.
Yeah, tent city.
Mm-hmm.
And luckily here, Mia's up in northern Michigan. Homelessness isn't as rampant because it's freaking cold.
Yeah. But we do have homeless shelters.
Yeah, you can't afford to be homeless too much in northern Michigan and not freeze your butt off. But yeah, I like this defund the police in action type of, here's a proof of concept, if you will, to say that we're going to fund a UBI for 500 single parents. That is some means testing, but it is what it's a pilot nonetheless. Do you guys have any pushback on any of these types of approaches?
I honestly do not like to criticize people funding money that they're giving out of their own pockets or that they're giving to people who need it for free. As when you have a limited population that you can give to, you do have to choose somehow. Lottery seems like it could work, I guess, but it's important to outreach to people who really need help in times like these. So I think I don't have any problem with people selecting so long as their means are limited. If it were the government, I'd be very upset about the means testing. They've got different means. They've got a different pool to pull from, but individuals and smaller states and districts and such, they have to make the choices they have with the budgets they have.
Yeah, I'm curious, how big is the district? And then what's the percentage that 500 represent? Is it 1/10? Is it 1/10 of a tenth? It's a huge district out there in LA, so I doubt it's even a 1%. It's probably 1/10 of a percent or something. But
if I had a magic wand, I would rather. I think it's like 77 million or 88 million or something for this whole effort. And the UBI pilot's like just 6 million of it or something like that.
Right. Mm-hmm.
I'd rather, as an example, I know this is going to be controversial, but
yes,
7 million for the unarmed response thing. I'd rather just add another 500 families and make it 1,000 families in the UBI pilot, because I bet a lot of that domestic violence and domestic disturbance and low level crime is because of economic despair and lack of like a local economy that gives people chances. And so you do worry a little bit, like for these UBI pilots, if they're too small. Like if you take it to an extreme, if you give one family out of like 100,000 families UBI, like it's not going to affect the community. Like there needs to be some minimum critical mass, which is why I like Yang's, trying to get 500,000 people enrolled. Obviously LA, different resources, and this is a much more localized issue, but yeah, I would love to spend more money on that UBI pilot. And I worry that if it's too small, and then people will say, look, it didn't do anything, and we'll never know. It's sort of like doing like a vaccine test with like 1% of the dose.
Yeah, it didn't flatten the curve. Stop.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, it still does help those families individually, and we've
seen that
through multiple pilots. So we will get positive results from them, but we always do, and they're the same positive results we always get. So it's not like it's proving anything new. We do need larger population sizes to get any new data on how that would help, communities and.
Yeah, I agree. Like the individuals will for sure, I think, show that it has a positive impact. I worry a little bit that we won't see the second order benefits, which I think is kind of part of the magic.
The societal ones.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and it said this is initial. So they could seek more funding from different sources. So
and you got to start somewhere. Yeah.
So I think this is a good start because they're starting the funding for a UBI pilot. They're also starting a fund to curb criminal murder by the police. Police don't need to show up for homelessness encounters and domestic violence where there's no they shouldn't be the lead. That's what I would say, is send a social worker or a mental health professional to be the lead on the contact of a dispute like that, where there's mental health problems. And then the cop can be there for backup and can be asked, hey, shut that shit down. That dude's getting kind of making me nervous, But that's kind of how this is it's an initial thing. That's what you say, it's 7.8 million or whatever the other number was for that program. For sending unarmed responses to that. But yeah, it's a good start. And again, it's all about demonstrating good ideas. It's leadership.
Yeah. I think it's super encouraging. And if you told someone 5 years ago that a district in LA is thinking of doing a cash relief pilot for even 500 households, like people probably say, oh, that'll never happen, but here we are talking about it. Yeah.
Now what I'd like to see is a town, not mine per se, but a town like mine, small town. There's only 1,200 adults over 18 here. And so what if you did 500 here, which is living below poverty line here?
Yeah.
That would
or like West Virginia, like a West Virginia coal mining town, like that could be transformational.
Kentucky, West Virginia, Mississippi,
Mississippi,
the lowest cost of living.
Only has 30,000 people in a total, and about 10,000 of them live in our city. The entire county has about 30,000 people.
Right.
So yeah, UBI would make a huge impact on areas that are more rural, where you've got smaller populations immediately.
Well, I think that's where Andrew did a good idea, where he did that pilot program at one city in New York. I can't remember that city. But anyway, that's a good idea. Take a whole city and say, okay, we're going to change the zip code here. We're going to make it a difference in his entire zip code. And like he's trying, like you said, Tom, he's doing 500,000 in New York City.
Yeah.
The lowest 500,000 earners.
Yeah.
Huge.
But what would be super exciting is imagine if a heavy Trump community were identified that was very much ravaged by the industrial kind of transformation and global trade and that kind of thing. And it worked. I mean, that could turn UBI into a real bipartisan movement.
But yeah, I would love to see a red district, heavy. I'm talking like 80% district. Have dropped on their lap.
I think it'd be really interesting.
Good idea. Flood the opposition with positive information about your thing that they can't deny because they're living it.
Yeah. Positive confirmation bias is on your front doorstep. You can't deny the improvement. That's a good point, Tom. I like that. But yeah, so I'm hoping that this will inspire other cities. And of course, we got the mayors for a guaranteed income out there trying to do things all over the country. And we need to get more of those people involved as well. And then we got to find more sources to help fund programs like that in small cities that'll make the biggest differences, in per capita. Yeah, I love it. I want to say thank you to Tom once again for joining us. Nerds for Humanity is one of the most consistent channels out there doing shit, not just talking about, actually doing something, like ofthepeople.us. I love it, Tom. But yeah,
keep it real.
Yeah, man. Thanks for joining us, guys. We'll see you guys next time. Like always, gang. Awesome.
Peace.